We'll start with the menu for today. I'm the moderator, so I will just talk at the beginning of the workshop. Don't worry, I'm not going to be the one talking all the time. And then we have two guest speakers who will be presenting the workshop. But first, I will do the welcome, as I'm doing right now, and present the workshop protocol. And I will also present the aims of today's Teacher Voices workshop and introduce our guest. Then we'll talk about the presentation of the Alcira-Bordeaux exchange, because it's between those two cities. We use the name of the towns where the students were located. You will have a chance to ask whatever questions you might have at the end of the presentation about the Alcira-Bordeaux exchange. And then we'll let you know a little bit about the next steps in the workshops and in the project. So first of all, the workshop protocol, please mute your microphones and keep your cameras off. This is also a question of Wi-Fi and a question of, having the presenters on the cameras. And then at the end, if you want to ask a question, we will be very thankful if you turn your camera on to ask the questions. You can ask your questions in the public chat. I will be taking a look at the chat and I will go back to the questions at the end. But at whatever point, if you feel you're going to forget about your question, write it on the chat and we'll go back there at the end. Okay, that is one way in which you can do that. But we can also answer questions at the end of the workshop, those appearing on the chat, but also people who raise their virtual hand intervening in the Q&A. Okay, so that's more or less the protocol. And these are the aims for today's Teacher Voices workshop, as I said, on engagement and motivation. And we would like to start with our project mission. This is the quotation that you can find when you access our webpage, our eLive webpage. I suggest you and invite you to take a look at the webpage because there's quite a lot of things going on there already. And we will be uploading new things like this presentation as well. And we would like to highlight that our project brings together experts in different fields, educational fields. We have people in secondary education, people in primary education, at the university, etc., from France, the Netherlands, and Spain. And our aim is to address crucial digital pedagogical innovation and social needs, to enhance inclusive intercultural communicative competence development, but also digital literacies, through the pedagogical integration of virtual exchange projects at language teacher education institutions and schools. So as you can see, we have several aims regarding the educational levels and also the kind of goals that we want to obtain. But as I said, I invite you to visit our webpage and look for more information. And some of the keywords that we believe are important for today's workshop, and you will tell us at the end if we did address these keywords, are engagement, motivation, intercultural awareness, TBL, called blended learning and CLIL. Most of you know what that is, right? Lingua Franca partnership and democratization in the classrooms. So those are some of the keywords. And now I'm going to introduce the speakers. We have Ana Peri Sancho. She's raising her hand on the camera. She's now a teacher in secondary education. But when she was when she was a student of mine and she was writing her master's degree dissertation, she collaborated in this exchange that we are presenting. She's now one of the partners in eLive, but now she's acting as the teacher in the master's degree and as a researcher who was writing her dissertation at that time based on this exchange. The exchange, as I said before, took place between Alcira and Bordeaux. So we have the names of the schools, École Élémentaire Publique Saint-Bruno in France and the public school Gloria Fuertes in Spain. They both were schools in primary education, and mainly what they wanted their students to achieve was to use English and to learn about another culture. The interviewer, the person who's going to interview Ana, is Alejandro García Cebrián. He's now waving his hand in the camera. And he's now a teacher in that school, Gloria Fuertes. He wasn't there when the exchange took place, but now he works there and he's one of the associated partners. Okay. And I wanted to give you a general overview before I give the floor to Ana and Alejandro. This is not as complicated as it seems, and this was a very particular case. Normally, in the eLife project, we just have the students, the teachers in both schools, and one coach. But at this point, we had two coaches, well, two in Spain and one in France. We had the students at the center of this process. And then we had Emilio Bosch and Maria Pilar Pellicer. They were the teachers who worked in the school where Alejandro is now working. They are on leave right now and they can't present this, but Alejandro is going to do a very good job anyway. And then the teacher in France was called Claire Chandier. She was also writing her master's degree dissertation. And then Anna, who was writing her master's degree dissertation, as I said before, and Hector, a student of mine who was writing his final degree dissertation, went to the school, helped the teachers, helped the students, and also collected the data for their respective studies. So that's for you to have an overall picture of what this exchange looked like at the point, okay? So now the floor is yours, Ana and Alejandro, and I will mute myself.
Perfect. So, Ana, firstly, talking about the Alcira Book exchange, why did you get involved?
Good. So the first thing, Begoña has already mentioned it a bit, but I got involved because of Begoña. She had been my teacher in the English degree, and later she was my master's thesis supervisor. So I came in contact with Tekola because of her. And Pilar, who was the teacher from the school, she was also involved in the project because of Begoña, because she had been her PhD supervisor, and that's how we both got involved in the project.
Nice. And what did you want the exchange to help your pupils with?
Okay, so what Pilar wanted was to improve her students' English, and she also wanted them to learn English in an authentic way, and that's what we all teachers want, right? In addition, what we haven't said is that this school is a CLIL school, and that means that most of the contents and subjects are taught in English. In addition to this, the school had been part in many other programs, in other Erasmus projects, but they had never been in a virtual exchange project, and they were very excited about it. So she wanted, with this project, to help her students in this.
Nice. And what did you want to get out of the exchange personally?
Okay, so as Anna, what I wanted to get from the exchange was some data, and I wanted to see if telecollaboration and virtual exchanges were useful to language learning. So I went there to gather the information and all the data. And what Pilar wanted, she wanted to improve the proficiency and fluency of her students. And in addition of all that, I was not only interested just in the data. I wanted to see how it worked in firsthand, because I knew that when I became a teacher, I would love to be in a project similar to Tekola, and that's why now I'm a part of eLife, because I wanted to see how it worked.
Nice. And do you think this exchange was engaging for the students?
Okay, so I personally believe that it was very engaging. I mean, I saw students, they were thrilled, they were very motivated. And as we're going to see through the workshop, we're going to see lots of examples of how they got engaged.
Perfect. So, how was your class?
Okay, regarding the Valencian class, there were two groups of 17 students each. They were in 6th of primary. That means that they were between 11 and 12 years old. As this school was clean, their level was good. They had a B1, B2 level. Normally in public Spanish schools or Valencian schools, they don't have that level, but they had this level. There weren't any specific needs that we needed to pay attention to. And the technical setup that they had was the one that we can find in most public schools. They had like smartboard, a computer, a projector, and a microphone. We used 2 computers, one in their class where they watched videos, and the other one where they did the video conference. As you can see in the left side, there's our screenshot of the video conference, and on the right side, with the yellow t-shirts, we have the Spanish, the Valencian students, and on the left side, the French students. And with this project and with this exchange, what we wanted to show is how useful virtual exchanges were for primary school, because there was a lot of research in secondary education about how virtual exchanges were useful and beneficial to learn a second language, but there wasn't that much information about primary school. So that's why this particular exchange was very important.
Perfect. And what's about your partner's class?
Okay. In reference to the French group, there was only one group, but this was larger. There were 26 students. In addition, these students were younger. They were in 5th grade. That means they were between 9 and 10 years old, and as a result, their level was lower. They had an A2, but there wasn't any problem. Students had like good connection, and the difference that they had in level was not a problem. There weren't any specific needs either, and they used the same technical setup as the Valencian class.
Perfect. Secondly, in the matter of objectives, how did you negotiate the objectives?
Okay, good. So this was done mainly by communication. I mean, communication is key to success in this type of projects. So the different objectives were negotiated through different online meetings. The teachers and the trainee teachers that were participating, we had meetings where we shared our views and where we discussed what we wanted to do or what we wanted to achieve in the lessons and in the exchange.
Perfect. And how did you manage to make the syllabus fit the needs of each school?
Okay, so it might seem difficult, but it was quite easily actually. The Tecola project had a lot of tasks, and we could choose from those. And we really had 3 options. The first one was just taking one task as it was and use it in class because they had different tasks. The second option was taking a task and modifying it or adapt it to the class needs, the syllabus, or the reality that they had. And the third one was creating a new task, just looking at what we had to do in the classes. What we did for the main task was this last option. In fact, we created a task for the students for the main activity, and it worked really good. And if you're thinking in this project, in the life project, that you're going to create, or maybe you will be interested in creating tasks, that would be nice. And if you do it, they will be later uploaded to their resources bank, and authorship will be granted. So if you create a task, then it will be explained that that task has been created by that particular person from that school.
Perfect. And regarding to the choices made, how did you choose your task?
Okay, so good. We decided the tasks in online meetings. As you can see there on the left side, there's another screenshot of when we had our online meetings. And so the teachers, we discussed and talked, taking into account our students' needs and interests. And from that, we selected and created the tasks.
And how did you choose the technologies employed?
Okay, so this was very easy. This doesn't depend on us. It depends more on the school. So we chose what we had in school. We just checked around, saw the reality, and adapted to our surroundings. So we took the computers and the thing that we had. I mean, sometimes we wish we had more things, but we have to work with the technology and the things that we have in our schools.
Perfect. And how did you organize the time slots?
Okay, so this can be tricky, but for us, it was a little bit easier because as you all know, in primary schools, the same teacher teaches different subjects, and that helps with the timing. That means that maybe in a day, the teacher has more hours available. So that makes it easier to match an hour to do the online conference. For the other activities, that is easier because maybe one group can do an activity on Monday and the other group on Tuesday because they are not synchronous, they are not at the same time. But for the online the online at the same time, it can be sometimes a bit difficult.
Perfect. And finally, talking about choices made, how did you organize pupils into pairs or groups?
Okay, so this depends a lot on the level and the school, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about this in the discussion.
Good. So with reference to learning design, what were the pre-tasks?
Okay, so we did quite a lot of pre-tasks. The first one, we asked our students to fill in questionnaires. This was very important for us because we wanted to know about our students. We wanted to know their interests, their opinions, and that's why we gave them some questionnaires. After this, they did a cultural related task where they looked for information about France and they had to draw the flag. And after this, they continue doing, they design a poster, but this time instead of reflecting on the French culture, they did it in the Valencian and Spanish one. So they did posters to share with the French students. And this led to the next task. In the next pre-task, students wrote a script. In this script, they introduced themselves. They told who they were, where they live, their hobbies. They talked about themselves. And once they had the script, they were recorded. They recorded a video that lasted around 1 minute. As you can see the left picture, the teacher was recording one of the students doing her introduction. And once they had recorded it, the videos were uploaded to the Moodle. The French students did the same. And from that Moodle, after that, we could download the videos from the French students. And in that way, they could watch them. I think, okay. Yeah, when they downloaded the videos from the French students, the Valencian students watched them and they talked about the videos. They discussed the new things they learned from the new peers, the things that shocked them the most, and any other relevant aspects that they found in the videos. Those were the pre-tasks that they did.
So you spoke about the pre-tasks, and what was the main task?
Okay, good. So the main task was a bit different. We decided to go for a video conference. The video conference was done in the big blue button. That it's the video conference room that we're using now. This is a very nice and secure video conference room that it's used for pedagogical purposes. And the activity was only carried out by 8 students. This was due to organizational matters. And as we can see at the bottom of the slide, we asked our students about video conferences, and 69% of the students were really excited about doing video conferences, and 19% of them were also fine with it. So this task, the task that we did in the video conference session, lasted 30 minutes. And here on the left side, you can see the task we used, the real task we used. And in this task, a student had to carry a discussion and they had to give their opinion, ask questions about topics that were closely related to them. We chose Eurovision, food and school, and they had to talk about it with the French peers. If you want to see other examples of tasks, in the Tecolab webpage, there are many examples of tasks, and they are in a lot of different languages. They're in French, in German, in Spanish, in English. So if you can check other examples of similar tasks, you can access the webpage.
And what was the post task?
Okay, so we did 3 post tasks. The first one was, as not all students had participated in the video conference session, this session had been recorded, and this session was played and all students could watch it. So one of the post tasks was that, watching the video of the recording, and students worked on it. So they saw how their peers were speaking with different students, what language did they use, how did they answer the questions. And in that way, even if they were not in the online session, they could watch it. The second thing that they did was, after they had finished watching the videos and discussed everything, they reflected in all the project. They reflected the pre-task, the main task, the post-task, what they had learned, how their learning experience had been. And the third one, they filled again questionnaires. And the picture that you can see on the left side, Hector and I, we told them that they were going to give them some questionnaires. In these questionnaires, we asked them questions of what parts, questions as, what did you like the most from the exchange? What things would you change? We also gave them another questionnaire where we asked them about are you satisfied with the exchange? And for us, this was very important because feedback from students is essential to know if something is working or not. And they gave us feedback of how to improve, and also the positive aspects from the exchange.
So, by the way, talking about reflections, what were the most positive aspects?
So there were a lot of positive aspects, and these are some of the ones that we're going to talk about. The first one was the students' engagement. They were very engaged, they were very happy and excited. And as we can see in the figure at the bottom, they really liked the topic. 66% of the students said that they enjoyed it. And I think that nowadays that we're having difficulties to connect sometimes with the students, to make them participate, seeing that most of them enjoy the topics and like it was very special. Then all students were involved in all activities, and this is also something incredible in education. All students did all the tasks, and not even one student mentioned that he or she didn't want to do one of the activities. They all did the activities. Then the third point is that students use English through all the tasks. And when I think about my lessons, I always try to make my students speak in English, but sometimes it is a bit difficult that they always use English because they know that they have the second option, that is speaking in Valencian or in Spanish, and they can do it because their peers also speak Spanish and Valencian, but in this exchange, they couldn't do it. So that was very nice because they were forced to use English. Then we also saw that when they were having any communicative problem, they were very quick to find solutions and ways to fix it. And that was very nice. We also saw that in the video conference, there was a lot of interaction, because sometimes when they do activities, the students that are more proficient, they talk a lot, and the others don't. And in the conference, we saw it in the speaking terms, that they were 65 and 45, and students had a very good interaction. So they took turns and they asked questions. It was very smoothly carried out. And the last thing I wanted to mention in reference to the positive aspects is that students were aware that they were using English. And they were very focused on what they were doing and how they were doing it, and that to learn a language is very important.
Perfect. And on the other hand, any room for improvement?
As everything in life, there's always room for improvement. And when we were reflecting about the exchange, we found out three main problems or three main things that we could improve. The first one was the coordination between the teachers. Even if we had meetings and tried to have as many, we tried to have a good coordination. Sometimes it was difficult because when you are outside of your work, connecting with someone sometimes might be difficult, and we would have liked to have more meetings and discuss it a little bit more. The second problem that the second thing that we would have liked to improve was matching a suitable period of time for both schools, not for the pre and post task, because this could easily be done without matching the times, because, for example, Alcira school could be doing at the beginning of the week pre-task and the French school at the end. But in the synchronous activity, in the conference, they needed to match a specific hour that both schools were going to be connected, and this was a bit difficult. And the third one is in reference to the main task, because all students couldn't participate in the video conference, and when we asked them for feedback, as you can see down there, one of the Valencian students wrote, I would have liked that all the class was in the video conference, even if it was just taking turns. So they said that they really enjoyed the project, but that they would have liked that all of them could have participated in the conference, in the video conference. The project was it had very positive results, and students were very eager to participate in the video conference. Your school and the French school did another project the next year, in which all students participated again, and this time all of them were part of a video conference. This was achieved because this time, instead of doing such a long video conference, they did smaller, shorter interactions, and all students were able to participate and talk with their peers from France.
Lovely. Let's talk about engagement, the main topic. How were your students engaged?
So they were very motivated. They were excited about all the tasks, and they did it without complaints. And kids and teenagers not complaining, I mean, we all know that that's very nice. They participated all the time, and they showed a lot of interest. So it was good.
Perfect. And so how did it manifest itself?
So we could see it in three things. The first thing was in the daily conversations and direct observation. We as teachers, when we are in a class, we know when something is working and when it's not. When you do an activity, you can very easily see if it's engaging your students or if they are enjoying it. And when we were doing the project and all the tasks, that could be seen. We saw it in the classes. Then we saw it as well in the transcripts, because all the videos and the video conference we did transcripts. We did this because we did it for research purposes, and in fact, I did my master's on this. I analyzed how students were engaged and how they communicated one with each other, and we saw that the results were positive. Students were engaged with the task, and they used strategies to learn and to apply the language. And the third one was maybe the one that was more direct, with the questionnaires. We directly asked them, did you like it? Did you enjoy it? In fact, there we have on the left side, we have some of the data that we collected from one of the questions. We directly asked them, did you enjoy being part of this project? And as you can see, on blue, we have the answer of the French students, and in brown, the one of the Spanish ones. They really enjoy being part of this project. In addition, we asked them questions like, which was your favorite part of the project? And they highlighted the videos and the conversations. So they really enjoy the process of interacting with other people. And yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And how was this different to a regular class?
So it was I would highlight two aspects. The first one, it was different from a normal class because they had to use English all the time. And for example, in the video conference, when you're doing an activity in class, if you're preparing a role play or if you're doing an activity, students need to use English. But sometimes if they don't know how to do it or how to continue, they just change from one language to another. And they very easily tend to go to their mother tongue, which is normal. But in this case, in this project, in the activities that they had to do, they had no chance to do that. They had to use English as they could. And this was very motivating for them because they had to find a way to communicate. And that created a real situation because we prepared them, but in this case we were giving them a real situation in which they had to interact. And on top of that, they were meeting new people that were from a similar age and that they didn't know before, and they are always excited to meet new people.
Perfect. And eventually, about the key takeaways, what advice would you give the teachers present here today for their exchanges?
Okay, so I would like to tell you three things. The first thing is try to keep close contact with the school you're going to be paired with. Try to have meetings, to have a good conversation and a good flow. That is going to make easier your exchange. The second one is relax and adapt the materials to your students, to your needs, to your resources, because we all know that not all public schools have the same and not all groups are the same. So don't get stressed because you don't have the same group as another person. Just stick with the things you have and try to adapt it to your reality. And the third one, most important, enjoy it. These type of exchanges and projects are an incredible opportunity, and they can make a huge difference in your students. So if you enjoy it and you enjoy the process, I'm sure your students will do the same, because students are very, very eager and they love being part of different things and new things that are not everyday language classes.
So thank you very much, Ana and Alejandro. That was very illuminating and very, very nice, very well done. So we have time for questions. We are suggesting some of the areas you could ask about, like if you want to ask us how to adapt the exchange to your classroom, questions about the design of the activities, questions about the technologies, organizational questions, practical concerns, and of course, any other question that come to your mind. We have a question in the chat, so if you guys want, we can start with that one, and then we'll see if someone else sends us a question on the chat or raises their hand. So one of the questions say, well, Petra asked 3 questions. Let's go and talk about the first one. So in primary education, you have more time with pupils. How would you solve this for secondary education? Anna, would you answer this?
Okay. I would try maybe sometime, I don't know, in other high schools, but for example, in my high school, we have 3 hours or 4 hours of English lessons. If we couldn't match those hours, maybe we could talk with a pair with whom we have a good relationship and tell him or her, would you mind swapping classes and seeing if in that way you can match the hours with the other high school, because I mean students are in the high school from 8 till 2. So I guess if you have a colleague with whom you have a good relationship, you can change the classes, because I've done that sometimes in my school, in my high school.
Good, very good.
I think that could be a solution. If
Yep, I was
not,
gonna-
maybe trying to ask the tutor, because they have as well an hour a week of tutoria, and in that hour you could use it as well as a time that you can match with the other group.
Thank you for that, Anna. Yes, I was going to say that in the TILA and TECOLA projects, the previous projects we were engaged in, we had many more exchanges in secondary education than in primary, actually. So we had to cope with that kind of situation. And that only affects the synchronous activities, as Anna said before. So actually, you wouldn't just have to look for the exact time slot when you are carrying out a synchronous activity, not for the rest. And as Anna suggested, there are always ways in which you can do that. Some of the people in Tecola, what they did as well was to do this outside the compulsory hours of school. And some people asked them to do this for homework or to do that from home. And then the coaches would join the session as well. So this could be agreed with the other teacher and see what the needs are for both schools before you decide on this. But there are solutions for secondary education as well. So I don't know, Petra, is that enough for the first question?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yes, okay, because the camera is somehow not working, but that doesn't matter. Yes, I think swap classes and tutoria is because the problem I have with I've tried to do it outside compulsory hours, and you have students who really did, but you have also those who don't do it, and then the person the other school is waiting for that person, and so I try to do as much as possible at school, and indeed swap classes and tutoria, and then like you said, you don't have these sessions together every week. It can be once a month or once in 2 months or so, and then so that sounds good.
Thank you, Petra.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
There are always options. And as you said, I also agree with you. I like to carry out virtual exchanges during class time. And I like that way. But there's always, a way to do it if you are willing to try new ways.
Mm-hmm.
Then you also asked about the pre-task. Anna, she said if the students prepare the cultural info on the poster of their own country or of the other country.
Actually, they did both. When they were preparing the flag, they just found like some bits of information, not a lot, because then when they were doing the poster about their own country, that's when they were reflecting a lot about the culture. So they did a small part in the flag with the information from the other country, and then they got a lot of information from their own country when they were preparing the poster that they were going to send to their peers, because they uploaded all the tasks in Moodle.
Okay, so they had both
Yeah.
options. It's always good to tell them about your own culture, like, getting to know from someone else's culture firsthand, from a native speaker of the language is always nice. But sometimes getting to know what the ideas about your country are told by someone else is also, very interesting. We had a task about stereotypes, and it worked very well in a different exchange, not with these kids, but with teenagers. They tried with stereotypes, and it was also a very nice task. And Petra also asked, there was engagement, but how did you achieve this engagement? Would you describe, Anna, how you think you achieved it?
Okay, so I think we achieved it because the fact that they were going to do the activities with other students and share them with people that they didn't know and they were from another country, they just wanted to do the activities. It was, I don't know, when you tell, okay, it's sometimes when we tell them, okay, you have to do this activity, they don't see, okay, I don't do it because there's not a purpose. But in this case, as they were going to share it with other people, they wanted to make sure that it was okay, that they had done it correctly, because then they were going to give it to other people that were people that they didn't know, that they wanted to know, and that they wanted to share the experience with. So we achieved it, I think, just by the fact that they were going to send it to other people that were their colleagues, that their new colleagues. I don't know if that's what she was asking. I don't know.
Petra, are you okay
Yes,
with our
yes,
answers?
thank you. Yes, indeed. So the fact that, yeah, it's
Because
clear.
because sometimes we ask them, okay, so you have to do this, but then the activities are for us or for the people in the class, and they are in a comfort area. I don't know. But when they have to do it for other people, maybe because they are teenagers and they want to impress the people from the other country, it creates something inside them that it makes them push that extra bit that maybe in a regular lesson they don't do it.
Exactly. Yes, thank you. Very clear.
Thank you for your question, Petra.
Yeah.
So we have also Taro, and she said, yeah, that's a problem as well, of course. When I think about virtual exchange, though, I always have in mind the ratios. 28 or 35 students, if you're talking about secondary education or the non-compulsory secondary education, and only one teacher available at a time. How could we organize it? So Anna, you want to go ahead and answer this? Oh, you want me to answer the question?
I don't know. I don't know, Begoña, I don't mind, or if you have.
No, you can start, and then if
Okay.
there's something you don't say, I'll go and add something else.
So I think I have the same problem because I have groups that are as large, but I think in the tasks that are not synchronous, those tasks is like preparing any day-to-day class. I mean, you have your students, you divide the activities and you do it, and you can check all of them. And then in the synchronous task, that it can be a little bit more complicated because you have to match the pairs and everything. Maybe a solution could be putting students in pairs or in trios. I don't know. It could be like trying to do that and prepare beforehand a lot the activity, and then just going around and checking, or I don't know.
Okay, if I may add something to that.
Yeah.
I would say, Taro, that you will not be alone. That is not just one teacher with the whole class, because you will have a coach for sure. And being you, because you are in Valencia, it would be either Barry or me or both. You always have someone helping you from the project. We also hopefully will have teacher trainees. And because this project is not only based on schools and in primary and secondary education, but we are also including teacher training institutions. So we are also training some of the future teachers, and as part of their training in teacher training institutions, they will also be helping carrying out these kind of exchanges. We had Anna and we had Hector in this case, and they were doing their master's dissertation and end of degree dissertation with me, and they helped the teachers in Alcira. So we will offer you all of the advice and all of the help that we can. So regarding that, you will have help for that. And sometimes we as Abraham is adding on the chat, very well pointed out. Yeah, we'll have the support of all those volunteers from Florida Uni as well, because Florida University is one of the teacher training institutions that is also joining the project. So of course we'll have as many volunteers and as many people as we can include in the project. So yes, that's the idea. That's what we have devised for this project, which is different from the previous ones we were involved in. Alfredo asked if there is a Padlet in our eLife project. I'm guessing Alfredo is also asking this. Alfredo participated in Tecola, and he knows how useful the Padlet was, the tool, the Padlet tool for the students, and they were engaged and they participated. And yes, we do have a Padlet as well for eLife, and we believe, well, actually we are already using the Padlet for our teaching materials, the ones that we are creating in the project, and of course there will be options for Padlet for the exchanges. So you can still write questions on the chat, okay? But Kurt raised his hand, and while I'm attending Kurt's question,
Yeah.
I will read the chat. Go
Okay,
ahead.
you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, a little comment. It's, oops, sorry. I have to switch things on here. Yeah, it's indeed a complicated issue with which involves the kind of technology you intend to use. Begonia just mentioned Padlet, which is a big difference whether you use Padlet or a big blue button like here. And it is, I think it depends very much on the school culture. I mean, there are schools, there are countries where schools where they still have homework. And then there are countries and schools where something like homework is possible. And there are schools and cultures where something like homework is not possible. Then you have to do it in school. And it depends on whether you want to have, if you want to involve them speaking or writing. I mean, like Padlet, you can write posts, you can record posts, and then have something like a semi-synchronous meeting. And this can be wonderfully done in the computer room and with your entire class. But when you have something like this here, a big blue button meeting, and you want to do it with your entire class in the computer room, and they all talk, then it won't work, I would say. It's just too much, too little communicative privacy, too much noise and everything. So this would then, a way out would be to involve them from outside, as Begonia mentioned, outside classroom hours. This could be on school premises, but that then requires a certain kind of infrastructure, an organizational infrastructure at the respective school, so that this is possible. Or you do it from home, and which at the someone mentioned it, it might be very demanding for them to get things organized. On the other hand, it would be closer to being autonomous and getting things organized. So it's indeed a very complex issue, and I think this has to be addressed step by step and very cautiously, and not too much, and so that you always know where you are and what you're doing and how well it's working. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Kurt. Yes, that's very nice of you to jump in and tell us about these, because he has, you know, a very extensive experience in telecollaboration, and he knows what he's talking about. And he was a member of Tecola and TILA project, and he's been involved in different other projects regarding telecollaboration and virtual exchange. And of course, I agree with him. And we need to think about our own needs. We need to think about the needs of the partner, because sometimes we want to do something for our students, but we also need to negotiate with the partner in the other school and come to an agreement as regards their needs as well. So that's very important. So as Anna said before, communication is essential. We can't ask our students to be communicative and to talk to other people if we don't communicate with the teachers before. So we need to be examples for them in that regard, right? So we need to agree, to come to an agreement, and to decide with the other teacher what's best for both classes. And so there are plenty of possibilities, and that's what we are here for. We are here to guide you and to give you ideas, and we hope that our experience in virtual exchange can help you in that regard. So Alfredo wrote a message, and he said that he used the Padlet for input scaffolding. It is true, as Kurt was just saying, we can use Padlets for specific activities, for communication. We can record messages, And it might not be completely synchronous, but sometimes it could be very, very much synchronous, or like, not completely synchronous, but the answers get there nearly immediately, okay? And then you present that via Big Blue Button. I remember this very well, Alfredo. And so they had to do some previous work that was done on the Padlet, and the teacher can give them feedback on that. And then they have to solve those tasks through video conferencing in Big Blue Button. So some of the students were doing something at the beginning, as Alfredo said. Some other students were engaged in doing something else, and it's teamwork in the end. So, oh yes, Kurt, thank you for that. This is a very nice dissertation, doctoral dissertation, Melinda Jitson, and it is there. Oh, thank you for the link as well, Kurt. And this is precisely about task engagement. So this is a perfect reading for teachers and for researchers, of course. So thanks for that, Kurt. Do we have any more questions in the audience? You can raise your hands and then you can talk, or you can write them on the chat. Maybe something we've forgotten to talk about, something you're curious about. More questions? Maybe we gave you too much information. You're a bit overloaded now. Don't know. Anyhow, if you have some questions that you cannot think of right now, you can always send us, your messages. We have, and I'm telling you now how to communicate with us. There are several ways of communication. I'll show you in the next slides. And thank you, Petra, for your questions. Your questions were also very, illustrative, and they help us show this practical explanation that you're talking about. So your questions were very nice as well. Thank you for that. And I'm waiting because some people are typing and there might be other questions. So I'm going to just wait for a sec. And if not, we'll move on to the last part of the presentation. Thank you very much for this interesting presentation and discussion. Thank you for your comment, Kurt, and for the suggestion for the doctoral dissertation. Okay, Tara, no worries. There's just a little bit at the end and it will be recorded, so no problem. Okay. So any last minute question? No? Okay, we're going to go to the end of the presentation, where those of you who haven't signed up for the project yet, most of you present here have been already signed up, but in case you haven't, if you go to our webpage and you go to the button where it says join us, marked with the red arrow there, then you can join the project. There are two modalities for joining. So you can register for one or the other just to get informed or to become active part of the project. And we will get in touch with you and we will be giving you information. This is the link to the webpage. And as I said before, we invite you to visit the page and look for the information that we have uploaded and we will be uploading there soon. We have 2 more workshops. Some of you have registered for the 3 of them, for 2 of them, depending on your availability. The next one will be by Bart Pardo, and I think it's Christy. Are you going to be the interviewer, Christy?
Yes, I will. Yeah.
Great. So we need to add your name there. Christy will be the interviewer, and Bart will be the interviewee. He is also a teacher in secondary education, and he participated in TECOLA. But he's also a very good teacher specialized on new technologies. So he will give us a view of how those new technologies were employed in his classes when he participated in the TECOLA project. And then that will be Wednesday, the 23rd of November. Write that down, 7 p.m. And Oscar Balseiro, he's Spanish, but he works in London in a primary school, will present a workshop on diversity and differentiation. And he can tell us about that because his school is an example of lots of different levels, lots of different cultural backgrounds. And he also participated in TECOLA. And he will be interviewed by one of our associated partners in Badajoz, in Spain. He has already accepted my invitation, and he will be the interviewer. So we've got our email. That's what I wanted to show you before when I was telling you guys that if you have any questions that you haven't thought of right now, but you think about them later on, this is the email contact for us. And you can also email me or email any of the other partners in our project. We will like you to follow us on our different social media. We have a YouTube channel where you can watch the recording of the videos and many other interesting materials that we will be uploading. You can also access the ones we had before in Tecolantila, but we have a YouTube channel for eLife. We have an Instagram account, Facebook account, Twitter, and this is new in this project, TikTok as well. So we would love you to follow us on some or those social media, and we will also be uploading content to those social media as well. And finally, thank you everyone. Thank you first Alejandro and Ana for a very, very nice presentation and workshop, but also thank you everyone who has joined the workshop. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your comments. That was really insightful. And that's all. If you don't have any last minute questions, some people are writing on the chat, but I imagine that you just, say thank you as well and things like that. Muchas gracias, Ana, clarísimo. Oh, Petra, that's good in Valencian.
Thank you, Petra.
Thank you, said Marta and Patricia and Kurt. Oh, thank you, Kurt. Your opinion is important. If you like the format, we are very glad. Marta also said thanks. So again, if you need anything, contact us. And I think we stuck to the time really carefully, and we finished in an hour. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you soon. And any questions, send us information. So bye-bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye-bye.
As well.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.